when the time comes that you won't be able to afford a doctor, what are you going to do next? So I mentioned here in the first program in the series that, the reason we have unemployment insurance is so that when we're unemployed, we got a plan B. At least for 13 weeks, I can get a check in here, to cover the essentials. Can't go out and buy a new car on unemployment insurance, but I can pay the rent maybe, or maybe buy a little grub or put some gas in the tank and go out looking for a job. Now, there's a hyperinflation coming. The government, our powers that be, have decreed it. They have decided that's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to opt for. Now, of course, the mainstream press, they keep putting the best face they can on a bad economic circumstance. The unemployment rate's pushing 25%, about where it was in the last Great Depression. We're in a depressionary cycle right now, have been for 2 years. And it's not going to get better, it's going to get worse. And the powers that be, instead of electing for letting the economy straighten itself out, they've elected to intervene in the economy aggressively. And we're now in the quantitative easing plan 2. This is QE2, and they announced this the other day. They said they're going to pump out $600 billion and put that into the economy. That has stirred up repercussions all around the world, because what that means is a cheaper dollar. And it's the way that governments that are bankrupt pay off their debts. They just print the money and pass it out. That, of course, shortchanges the guy that produced 5 years ago and took your paper. He took your IOU. He said, pay me, when you get to it. And then 5 years later, we come around, and now we're reneging on the notes. And so governments renege by inflation. We renege by bankruptcy. So our government's going through what governments do when they go through bankruptcy, and that is they inflate the currency, pay their debts. And this is going to develop into a god-awful hyperinflation, which is going to drive all the goods and services off the counters. And so I said, okay, we need to have a plan. That's you and me, and the little guys down here at the bottom of the pond. We got to have a plan. What are we going to do? And when it comes to health, we're all in the same boat. I'm just like you and everybody else. I get sick every once in a while, or I get aches and pains, and we're pretty used to going to the hospital, and we're pretty used to going to the doctor. We're probably more over-reliant upon doctors and hospitals now than at any time in our history. And it's fine, as long as they're there and as long as we got the money, as long as it's available, it's fine. But one of these days it isn't going to be available, and then we have to have a solution to that. And in the International Forecaster, there's a section in here called Health, and I want to bring your attention to it. If you got $160, this is the place to put your $160. I've been saving all of these health tips. I've got a binder over here on my desk. And every week when these forecasters come out, they come out on Wednesday and Saturday, twice a week. I take the health section, which in the one I'm going to give you right here, it says health, skin signals, liver problem. In the last program I said, hey, my boy had all 4 symptoms for a stroke. Took him into the ER. And I looked him all over and brought him back out and said, no, this kid he hasn't had a stroke. Well, couldn't have proved it by me. Our little self-diagnosis over here, which I showed you in the last program, we took a look at the published symptoms, applied it to his complaints, and came to a conclusion. Took him in and said, well, okay, he didn't have a stroke, but whatever it was, they couldn't figure it out either. But he perked up, and he came out of it, and there's the end of the... What happens when the hospital isn't there, the doctor isn't there? Then we're going to have to deal with that problem all by ourselves, aren't we? Next time, I got to deal with it here. Well, now, every time this happens, I get a little smarter. Now, for the last 1,000 years or so, human beings have been having strokes, heart attacks, cancer, hard lumps in their breast, all kinds of, appendicitis. All right, and they had to take care of these problems themselves because they didn't have an ER. They didn't have the modern medical marvels that we have available today. And then since that's where we're going to revert back to, I guess it's time to get used to it and start figuring out a plan for it, because that's where we're going to be. Now, when I was a kid, you didn't go to the doctor very often. I think I mentioned this, probably by the time I was 21, maybe I'd seen a doctor 5 times in my life. Now, since then, I've been to the doctor 2 or 3 more times, but I want to point out I stay away from the guys as much as I can. But like, anybody else, you get a bad pain all of a sudden, you say, I think I need to go talk to a doc, see what we can do about this. Now, we got socialized medicine coming up, and the problem with the socialized medicine is that, number one, we can't afford it, and all that's going to do is bankrupt us just a little bit sooner than ordinary bankruptcy would have come without it. Now, whether this medical procedure, this medical marvel is going to be reintroduced, 5, 10 years down the road, I can't tell you. I don't know. But I can see that it's going to collapse around our ears shortly. And it's happened before. It happened in Germany in the 1920s. It happened in America in 1783. These economic collapses, and then the privation that comes from it. I mean, we've been through this many, many times. And so, we're just going to get used to going through it again. We went through the Great Depression of the 1930s, and that was Grandma and Granddad, and so now you and I get a chance to go through it, and then we can see whether or not we can do a better job or as good a job as Grandma and Grandpa did. So I just wanted to put that out in front of you, and you can take a look at it and see what you think of it. In any event, if it doesn't come to fruition, doesn't come to pass, well, then the worst thing that can happen is, hey, I was ready for it, I bought my life insurance, and damn, I didn't die. When we buy life insurance and we don't die, do we get mad? No, we pay the premiums and say, thank God I didn't die. I paid my premiums just in case. I was planning on dying. I didn't know if I was going to survive this, but seeing as how I did, I'm not begrudging the insurance company the premiums that I paid them. But had I died, they would have paid off. Now, our skin signals liver problems. Let's take a look at a pretty big organ on our body. It's called the skin. It's the biggest organ that we have. And that skin tells us a lot about what's going on inside. Surprising as that is, your skin's going to tell you a whole bunch. So when we see these symptoms develop in our skin, then we'll know that we've got liver problems, liver trouble. Now, I had an uncle who had a little liver trouble. It's called cirrhosis of the liver. He died at age 30. He was drinking 1 gallon of Gallo wine a day. Hell, I can't drink a gallon of water a day. I've tried. I just can't get 128 ounces of water into my sickly body. I can't do that. My Uncle Carol could drink a gallon of wine a day. And when he did, he was just as calm and steady as a preacher preaching his Sunday sermon. But boy, when that guy was without wine for a few hours, boy, he got the shakes and the fits. I mean, that guy couldn't stand still. So, just to give you a little information here as we go into this, cirrhosis of the liver is fatal. But it isn't just alcohol that causes liver failure, but it's a primary cause. So if you're tipping the bottle, and you've got cirrhosis over here, or you think you might be developing that, you can cure that. Here's what happens. Every 7 years, all of the body cells in your body are replaced. And those body cells have to be made up of the nutrients that you take in. So if you've got an ailment right now, you are what you eat. So if you want to fix your liver, we start eating a bunch of good food that produces good liver cells, and over the next 7 years, we're going to completely rebuild that liver. I mean, you can have a liver that's screwed up and scarred, and it's just, a piece of trash. And if we can keep you alive, keep pouring good food into you, every bad cell in your liver is not replaced by a commensurate bad cell. When that cell dies, it is replaced by a new, vital, good cell. Your body does not make bad liver cells. Your body doesn't make scarred liver cells. That's the bright spot. Now the problem is that the bad diet that you have, that is drinking too much hooch, has scarred up your liver and given you liver trouble. And now you're going to die from liver failure unless we can rebuild your liver. Now listen to this story. Our largest organ of the body is our skin, and our skin will alert us to a serious disease long before a medical doctor can confirm a problem. Now, I'm not talking about a minor skin condition, which are indicated by a food or environmental allergy. Our skin is just one area that can let us know of a major organ that's beginning to fail and needs immediate attention. Statistically, more women than men are affected by liver disease. Women exhibit more severe symptoms than men do. And to ignore the signals our body sends, even the more subtle ones, can risk us to a stay in the intensive care ward. Now, your liver's skin. Now, when I think of the liver, I think of it having a direct link to my skin. When your liver is not functioning, one of the first indications will be dry skin. No matter how much lotion you put on your skin, it'll never rehydrate your skin if you've got liver failure. The reason is that there is a blockage of a proper fluid circulating to bring oxygen, blood, and nutrition and fluids to the skin itself. Now, the next symptom the skin will develop from your liver that is failing is that it will begin to itch. So if you've got dry, itchy skin, you've got liver failure coming on. That's how simple this is. The next symptom the skin will develop from a liver is that of an itch, and skin of this nature, when you scratch it, will rupture. The rupture will skip the bruising stage and go straight to a wound. So a sick liver can also give the skin and eyes a yellow appearance called jaundice. Now, this should get your attention that there is a serious problem with your liver. Another possible sign on the skin surface is the appearance of spidery blood vessels on your chest, shoulders, and neck. That's a definite sign of liver damage, and it's very obvious and alarming. Skin that easily bruises is also a sign of liver disease. So if you bruise easily, your liver's not functioning right. Now remember this, we can rebuild any and every organ in your body. Now, of course, when you get to be old, once you get past your 70, that 70th year, now your body does not rebuild as fast, and it's not as easy as it is when you're young. But if you're 30, 40, 50 years old, and you develop a disease. Now, I was watching Frontline last night, and they were talking about death in the intensive care ward, and they had this big guy came in, weighed 250 pounds, 6'3", and he had blood cancer. Now, this blood cancer could have been cured if they would have done it nutritionally, but they didn't. They went after it chemically. They gave him chemotherapy. Well, think about this for a minute. You come in here and you're already weak. You're already diseased. And so now we're going to put this very toxic chemotherapy into your bloodstream. If you think about it, that doesn't make very good sense. What's happening here? This guy is suffering from liver failure. And so they come in here and they attack his liver with these chemicals because all these chemical drugs have to be filtered through your liver. Your liver is already stretched to the limit and beyond its limit. It cannot digest anymore. It cannot clear out any more toxins in your body. And so your liver begins to fail, and then we put more poison on top of that. Now, the natural healers come along with a little different plan. They say, look, let's not poison the body any further. It's got plenty of poison in it right now, which is why you've got jaundice, which is why you've got itchy, scaly skin, which is why you're losing weight, which is why you're in pain. So they start off by taking you off meat. Now get this, when you eat meat, it takes 75% of your body's energy to digest that meat. 75%. That's why, you sit down at Thanksgiving and you eat this big turkey dinner. You get up from the table, you go sit down on the couch, and you go to sleep. Your body is overtaxed. It's full. It now needs to sleep so that it can digest that food. And we just keep at it and keep at it and keep at it. Well, when you're young, you can handle that. When you get to be old, you can't. So now if you're getting up like I am, middle-aged and a little past, now we knock off the protein altogether and we go onto a vegetarian diet. And we start flooding our bodies, our sick, weak livers, we start flooding them with vitamins and minerals. I know, it's a shock, but that's what your liver needs, vitamins and minerals. It doesn't need any more poison. It's got plenty. That's why it's failing. It's already scarred up, plenty. What we need to do now is to start building new liver cells. And there's a plan here. There's a program for doing that. And then here in the International Forecaster, Wendy Wilson comes forward and says, okay, now here's what we're going to do. We're going to do a liver cleanse. We're going to actually clean the poison out. We're going to use herbs to clear the poisons out of your liver. We're going to stop putting any more poisons in. No more protein. Shut off the protein. Let's concentrate on heavy doses of vitamins and minerals. Isn't that crazy? I know. Stick with me. It gets crazier as we progress along. Now, what will happen here when you stop poisoning your liver then will start getting ahead of the poisons that are already in your body. That's the cancer. And then it will be able to deal with that cancer because the liver itself is a very vital part of your digestive system. Without it, you can't get rid of the cancer. So if you've got cancer, you've got a weak liver. And in some cases, the cancer will settle in the liver. Now you've got liver cancer. You can't just cut this out. Mickey Mantle tried that. They cut his liver out and then planted a new one in him, and he lasted 6 months and died. He survived the surgery, but he died from his disease, which was, in this case, rejection of the liver. Hey, listen, the liver that you've got is the best one that you can get. Stick with the one that you've got, and then let's see if we can rebuild it. And you're not going to do that in the hospital anyway. They don't know how to do that. But you're not going to have a doctor to give you the liver transplant to start with. And as I was watching this program last night, I was mentioning this on Frontline, they had about 5 or 6 people that they had in the intensive care wards of various hospitals, and they pointed out about a third of the people in America die in the hospital. And this intensive care costs $35 billion a year, and there's only 1,000 people in the country that are on these intensive care machines nationwide. This is very expensive stuff. When you're talking about transplants and bone marrow transplants, you're talking about, $200,000-$300,000 a shot. And, that starts to add up. Now, right now, the government's paying for most of this, but they're going to quit doing that here pretty shortly. Remember, we've only got 3 more years now, and the Obamacare program is going to kick in. And if that doesn't get you off the dole, then the hyperinflation is going to get you off of it. So you and I are going to have to deal with these major diseases. It's one thing to deal with the croup. That's what we dealt with last week. Here's what you do with all these run-of-the-mill diseases. Now you get into this heavy-duty stuff like liver failure, cancer, heart attack, and stroke, and we got to have a plan where we can take care of that ourselves. We're not very likely to take care of it by dietary changes up front. You're going to take care of it when you're forced to. Nobody acts any sooner than is absolutely necessary by the circumstances that force me to do it against my will and over my objection. So that's what we're addressing here. All right, now types of liver disease. Many things can go wrong with your liver, and there are several diseases. Modern medicine assigns to symptoms such as cirrhosis, cancer, hepatitis A, B, or C. Elevated iron congests your liver, and Wilson's disease, which is a genetic disorder causing copper accumulation, and then finally fatty liver. Now the symptoms and prompt action. Some additional symptoms which can indicate liver problems are loss of appetite, bloody nose, nausea, change in your nails, either the shape or color, fatigue, skin discoloration, excessive thirst, frequent urination, severe abdominal pain, dark-colored urine, pale color or tar-colored stool, abdominal swelling, frequent headaches, dizziness, spasms, and behavioral changes, such as depression and irritability. Now, anyone that lands in the hospital and hears for the first time that they have liver disease has had to ignore a mountain of symptoms. Ignoring these symptoms will put you at risk of liver deteriorating at a much faster rate. Now, while we're talking about this, have you seen these ads? And this lady is going to her daughter's wedding, but she has to urinate. She has to go to the bathroom all the time. Or this lady's riding around in a car, and she says, "Oh, I have to stop and go to the bathroom." Well, that's frequent urination. Well, that's a symptom of liver disease. But they're not telling these people that, well, you need to get busy and go to work on your liver, clean it out. No, they've got a drug for that. Hey, we can cover this up. Well, we can keep you from having to go urinate as often. Urination isn't the problem. Urination is the symptom of the problem. Urination isn't the problem. It's liver failure that's the problem. That's what we need to deal with here. Let's wake up and smell the coffee. So there are major causes that deal with this thing of the liver. Now, one of the major causes for liver failure is alcohol consumption. Too much alcohol inflames the liver, which can then progress to a fatty liver. The final stage is scarring of the liver, which is known as cirrhosis. The symptoms of a diseased liver from alcohol are dark urine, mental confusion, light-colored bowel movements, GI tract bleeding, edema, that's fluid retention. Now, recovery will require removal of all alcoholic beverages from your lifestyle. What that means is, boys, is we got to quit drinking for a while. Now, I used to drink a little. I didn't have liver failure, and I didn't have any health problem. But one day I woke up, and then I said, I think I'll quit smoking. Then one day I woke up and I said, I think I'll quit drinking. Now, drinking isn't against the law, and if you smoke a little bit, you probably could get by with it. But, when you're smoking a pack a day, or if you're drinking a six-pack of beer a day, or you're consuming more than, 4 or 5 ounces of hard alcohol a day, your liver ain't going to last that. It may do that for 20 or 30 years. My Uncle Carol died on his 30th birthday drinking a gallon of wine a day. I mean, that guy burned himself out in short order. You get some alcoholic down on Skid Row, he probably can't be saved. Now, if you're an average Joe six-pack over here, and you're tipping the bottle a little, and you can't get off the sauce, well then, maybe you better pack it in, get ready to die. But always remember that when you get ready to die, it's going to affect your wife, your kids, aunts, uncles, brothers, sisters. I mean, there's all these other people out here that care about you. See, that's the bitch. It isn't you. It's all these other people. So you might tuck that one away in your heart. Now, if you don't want to die, and all these people in the hospital I'm telling you about on the Frontline program last night, not a one of them wanted to die. When you're drinking and you're having a good time, we're pretty cavalier. We light up a cigarette and we call it a coffin now. Now, when you're in the intensive care ward and you're so damn weak you can't get out of bed, then all of a sudden it gets to be real serious. And these people are almost to a man says, yeah, they want everything that you can do for me to keep me alive, which was the point of the program. That modern medicine has gotten way beyond its intended ability. We want to alleviate pain and suffering, and we want to give you every shot at making it, and we want to give you this liver transplant. But when just taking a look at liver transplant, not liver, but kidney transplants, only 20% of people actually get a liver transplant. 80% die waiting for a kidney. 80% die waiting for a kidney. So the more logical thing would be, how do we rebuild the kidneys that we have? How do we rebuild the liver that we have? And all these people, they want to live. When it gets right down to, I guess it's all over. The doctors come in and they say, well, we got to face reality here. The transplant didn't work, and all of the chemotherapy didn't work, and everything that we've tried hasn't worked, and you're getting weaker and weaker and sicker, and so we got to decide, what do you want to do? You want us to stick this tube down your throat and breathe for you? Now, they had a lady in there. She had dementia, number one. They had her on life support. And so they pulled the tube out, and she started breathing on her own. That went on for a day or so, and then they had to give her a tracheotomy. They cut your throat, cut your neck, stick a tube onto your windpipe and breathe for you. They can do that. And this lady had laid there in a coma for a year. And I don't know what this costs, $2,000 or $3,000 a day. This intensive care ward, it's $2,000 or $3,000 a day in there. And this old lady, she's 86 years old. She's got dementia. She's on a life support system in a total coma. But, yeah, we can keep her alive. And that's what they wanted. And, of course, paid for at taxpayer expense. Now, I'm not saying that that's good or bad or right or wrong. I'm just telling you that ain't going to happen for you, Bob. You're just going to die unless you can rebuild your liver, unless you can get your health back. Now, of course, when you get to be 86, you're old enough to die, so I'll just leave that and lay where it's at. But I just thought I'd bring that to your attention over here. Alcohol is a toxin, a powerful toxin, and it knocks your liver out. Every ounce of alcohol that you drink has to be filtered through your liver, every ounce. And the more you drink, the more tax you put on your liver, and the more that thing has to work. And, you can just put so much on there, can't handle it anymore. So the choice is yours. You can decide what you want to do and when you want to do it.
The program you are listening to is 100% sponsored by you, the listener, on this First Amendment Rights Media channel. You will notice that there are few commercials on this radio network. There's a good reason for that. Corporate advertising dollars come with strings that limit program content. So without your help, these programs cannot continue on satellite, internet, or our several affiliates. These programs are not commercially viable and must be supported by those faithful to the cause of truth. Look for the button to sponsor your favorite programs. We will also give you unlimited archive access to all of our programs. We're asking you to give much less than a tithe, so that you may also send support directly to a particular program host, cause, and anywhere else the Spirit may lead you. Do all to the glory of our God and Creator, for His holy nation, the only kingdom that will last forever. Thank you for listening.
All right, we are talking about health this week, particularly when there's no doctor. When there's no doctor available, what are you going to do next? And the answer to that is that there's a solution. The solution that we Americans traditionally have held is that we do it at home. Home health care. Now, there's always been rich people, kings and queens and princes and so on. These people can have the best medical care that money can buy. Joe Sixpack and Sally Housewife over the past 100 years has been introduced to that concept of we should have medical care for everybody. That's going to come to a sudden screech and halt here one of these days when the economy goes into hyperinflation. And the reason I make that prediction is because that's the way it's always occurred in the past. History is telling us this is what happened the last time out. Here's what's going to happen again. So I thought I'd bring it to your attention that we're pretty used to having doctors and hospitals and medicines available. And sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not so good, but the moral of the story is it's always been available. And when it's not available, it's going to be a shock. So when it's not available, what's the backup plan? What are we going to do next? And the answer is, hell, there's a plethora of information out there. And I wanted to bring to your attention the International Forecaster this week. Last week we were talking about natural remedies, but now let's talk about the International Forecaster, because Wendy Wilson and the herb doctor actually have solutions to these medical problems that are probably better than allopathic medicine to start with. Probably better. But they're at least as good as. And in the absence of allopathic medicine, it's better than nothing. Better than nothing. So I'm pushing Bob Chapman and his newsletter. I'm pushing Wendy Wilson and her health section. They're not the only ones out there. There's another good guy out in California. I'll throw his name out to you. His name is Richard Schultz, S-H-U-L-T-Z, Richard Schultz. And, for instance, when we're talking about these liver cleanses, kidney cleanses, blood cleanse, and so on, there are herbs that clean your body organs out. There are herbs that feed them, vitamins and minerals. And these aren't the only guys out there. I mean, there's a lot of these people out there. You probably haven't heard about it. You probably don't know much about it because you've been educated in public school like I have. And so we're not educated to alternative health care. But there's an alternative health care out there that most people that are involved in alternative health care think is better than conventional. I'm one of those. I think it's a better plan, a better program than conventional. Although you can't knock the intensive care ward, and you can't knock, the ER. If you get shot like President Reagan, when he got shot by an assassin, he was shot in the lung. They took him into the ER, took the bullet out, patched him up, and the guy survived. Hell, he was in his 70s. So you can't knock that. I mean, there isn't any herb that you can take after you've been shot in the lung that's gonna save you. Aggressive medical intervention in a case like that makes the difference between life and death. And so the ER is a pretty good place to go. In intensive care here in the United States, I mean, we've got a medical system that's, second to none. Now, when that's taken away, though, what are you going to do next? That's the question that we're answering here this week. What are you going to do next? Now, there's a thing called toxins here. Now, another cause is too many toxins, and the liver can't keep up and neutralize these toxins, these poisons. And this is going to cause skin rashes as the toxic matter builds up and the body attempts to remove the toxins through your skin. Toxins can be in the form of sugar and fat from unhealthy lifestyles. So the first area of the body that will develop this rash is the palms of your hands and the soles of your feet. Hives have also been a result, along with the itchy rash. The histamine builds up and often appears on the eyelids, called chronic middle-aged, they get urticaria, I believe it is. And middle-aged females are more prone to this itchy hives than men are. It appears on the eyes or your face. Swelling of the face occurs, especially the lips and eyelids, in 30% of the patients. Hives are triggered by the addition of medications such as non-steroidal, anti-inflammatory, and pain relievers such as aspirin, foods, and insect bites. These all present toxins to the liver to try and metabolize. Other triggers are emotional stress, excessive heat, hot showers, baths, and exercise, alcohol, fever, and hyperthyroidism. Hives can also present themselves on the upper chest and neck. Dehydration comes in. The itchy skin associated with liver disease is correlated with severe dehydration, and the skin becomes too dry. The metabolism suffers and cannot process fat properly, and it can become deposited as clumps under or on your skin. The skin can also develop spots, hence the term skin liver spots. Now, I'm developing some of those. I've got these little brown spots, here's one here on my hand, called liver spots. Okay, so now that gives me an indication, hey, I need a liver cleanse. So I'm going to call Schultz or Wendy, and I'm going to buy one of those liver cleanses. Now there's 3 of them: blood, kidneys, and liver. You do one of those. Oh, there's a colon cleanse also. Colon, kidneys, liver, and blood. So you get these 4 cleanses. You do one of them about every 3 months. Do one a year. Do one of them every 3 months. Keep your body cleaned out. And that'll eliminate 1/2 of your disease problem. That's the toxin half. Now if we can feed your body and rebuild those cells, we got the other half. Now we got it knocked. Now the itchy skin associated with liver disease is correlated with severe dehydration, and the skin becomes too dry. The metabolism suffers and it can't process food or fat properly, and can become deposited as clumps under or on your skin. The skin can also develop spots, hence the term skin liver spots. And alcohol isn't the only beverage that can dehydrate you. Watch the caffeine in tea, coffee, energy drinks, and soda pop. And also having salt in your system assists the body in balancing fluids, but you must have sun-dried Celtic sea salt, and it won't create hypertension. A couple things to pass on to you. This salt you're buying in the grocery store, it's called sodium chloride. All right, what they do is they take it and they heat it. Take out the minerals, give you the sodium chloride. Take the minerals, put it into salt blocks, and feed it to the livestock. Isn't that special? So you're eating foodless food. Now there's a salt that I buy here called Celtic sea salt. Comes from France. They make it on the coast there. It costs $22 a pound. So let me tell you, it's high-priced stuff. You might get it on sale. Maybe it'll be $18 a pound, but normally it's about $22 a pound. Now, that salt is organic salt, hasn't been processed and heated, and it's got all of the trace elements in it. That's the stuff you'll want. Okay, now here's another little tip I'm going to pass on here. There's an oil called Raven Serum. I'm going to write that down, Raven Serum. My wife got shingles here not too long ago, last year I think it was. And she said to me, this is the only time in my life that I wanted to die. The pain was so excruciating from shingles that she said, I want to die. It causes sores on your skin, scabs, scars. She had it in her eyes, on her forehead, on her face. And somebody told her, what you need is to take Raven Sarah, that's a healing oil, and 7 drops in a capsule, and then you do that 3 times a day. And immediately the pain subsided, and within 1 week, now this is 7 drops of Raven Serum. It comes from Young Living Oils, I believe it is. You can probably buy it in other places. This is internal grade. This is food grade oil. And the shingles are gone. Now, these shingles are caused by stress. A lot of times they're caused by stress. Can be other things, I guess, also. I wanted to pass that on. Now, doctors, when they get shingles, they'll give you a sedative. They'll say, well, let's deal with the pain. But they don't know how to cure it. Don't know what causes it, don't know how to cure it. But they got a treatment for it. So tuck that one away in your heart. We here at the farm, we're very careful to always have Raven Sarah in stock in case shingles comes up again. The same thing, with vitamin C. We've got all the vitamins in stock. And we keep them here on the shelf and make sure that we've got them. In case somebody comes up with scurvy or something on that order, we've got the stuff right here. Now, my wife is pretty good with this kind of stuff. She's no dummy. Now, I'm dumb as a box of rocks. I don't know too much about health. I don't know too much about these various and sundry remedies, these folk remedies, that have been around. But we've got books, and we've got the Forecaster, and we got Doc Schultz, and we got Wendy here, Wendy Wilson. and with just a little bit of effort and just a little bit of planning ahead of time. Now, as I said, I take all of these articles as my forecasters come in, I cut them out, and I put them in a binder. Now, I put them in alphabetical order. I got appendicitis, A, right up front, so that when appendix or appendicitis shows up, I know right where to go to tell me exactly what to do in step 1, step 2, and step 3. I think I can follow those directions. Now, I just thought I'd throw in the shingles thing here for you. And there's shingles aren't all that common, but I've talked to probably a dozen people in my life that have come down with shingles, and every one of them says, "Oh my God, that's the most painful thing I've ever had." I don't know if it's first or second to trying to pass kidney stones. The guys all tell me trying to pass kidney stones is a killer. Now listen, we can dissolve those kidney stones. I mean, we can dissolve them, and we do that with lemon juice. Isn't that special? When you've got gallstones, you can dissolve those with Coca-Cola, olive oil, and lemon juice. When you've got kidney stones, the lemon juice will dissolve those stones. When you get that acid, another thing you use is apple juice. Now here's the kicker. You got to have the enzymes. My sister-in-law died from cancer. My wife said, "You need to be drinking raw carrot juice." She calls my wife one day. She says, "I bought a whole case of carrot juice." And my wife said, You did what?" And Sharon said, "Well, I bought a whole case of carrot juice. A whole case of canned carrot juice." Now listen, if you're going to can carrot juice, boys and girls, you got to heat it. You got to boil the stuff. It kills the enzyme. If you're going to drink carrot juice to kill cancer, you have to drink the enzymes. You have to juice the carrots and then drink this stuff right away. I mean, you juice it, it takes about 15 minutes, and then for the next 15 minutes you drink it. So from the time that you've got a carrot to the time that you've already drank it past tense, less than 30 minutes has gone by. Now, there's a solution to that. If you'll go to Wild Oats, they've got a juice bar. A lot of these places, have juice bars. If you know where to go to a juice bar, you walk in, and they'll juice celery, they'll juice carrots, they'll juice wheatgrass. And I think it costs about $5 for a glass of carrot juice with wheatgrass. And so when I'm in Reno, Nevada, I always go out to Wild Oats and get carrot juice every morning when it's available. Now, we've got a juicer sitting here on the counter, and we make juice here. But I'm just pointing out to you that when you want to rebuild a body organ, you need massive doses of vitamins and minerals. You can't get that stuff out of canned goods. Come on, guys, let's wake up here. You've got to have fresh juice. Now, here's a sideline. You take apples and you juice the apples and you drink the raw apple juice. Don't waste your time buying pasteurized apple juice. The enzymes are dead. D-E-D, dead. Forget that. You got to have the enzymes in it. So you got to have a juicer. So why don't you think about that juicer right now, so that you can make these juices and then drink the juice right away. You can rebuild your liver, rebuild your kidneys. There's all these things you can rebuild. And when you get tied in here to a health food store, you get tied into, say, Wendy Wilson with the international forecaster, Richard Schultz, the master herbalist. Then when something comes up, at least you can get on the telephone, call the guy and say, "Hey, what do I do here?" And then with a little practice, it's, "Hey, I've got these articles. I've got the book, like Natural Remedies Encyclopedia. I've got the book right here. I know exactly how to look this up. I know exactly what to do and how to do it. Doctor or no doctor." All right. Let's see what else I got here. If you find yourself with a sick liver, it's time to change your lifestyle. Avoid all of the cooked foods and eat raw fruits and vegetables. You can juice the fruits and vegetables as well and supply your body with live enzyme as building blocks of healing. And you should stay on the diet a full 3 months or longer and see the liver improve. If you abandon your diet prematurely, you're going to set a full recovery back due to a weak liver. A liver cleanse is also recommended. Now, for liver insurance, your lifestyle will be your best asset for ensuring a healthy liver. You can forget that. You're not going to change your lifestyle here, Bob. I can just tell you that right now. And you might find one guy in 1,000 that'll do that. I'm not talking to that one guy in 1,000. Obviously, the logical thing to do is don't get cancer. But hell, we're not going to change our lifestyles. I mean, you know, you're drinking and you're hooping and hollering and chasing wild women and living the lifestyle, you know, of a college kid, you know, at frat week. You're not going to change that. That's not very likely to happen. It's when the crisis occurs. It's when you get this god-awful pain on your right side and you're constipated and you've got an appendicitis. That's when you're going to take action. By God, at that moment in time, when the sweat's dripping off the end of your nose and you got tears streaming down your face because of the pain, now, by God, now you get serious. Now we can get your attention. Now you've got a solution right here in your binder. If you still got enough, if you got enough energy to read the solution, you can get after it. Most of us want to wait until we have the appendicitis, haul us off to the hospital in the meat wagon, the doctor cuts it out. You wake up and you say, oh, it feels real good now, doc. And he pats you on the head, sends you home. Okay, well, now, that's great. And then what really caps it off is when your health insurance company comes and pays the bill for you. God, that's just the miracle of miracles, and that's the wonder of wonders. And that's what I'm just telling you is going to happen here pretty shortly. So you're probably not going to change your lifestyle, but when the pain gets to be overwhelming, now I got to do something about this. And now there's no doctor available. Now what am I going to do? The answer's here in the International Forecaster. So let me give you this name and address again. It's called the International Forecaster, put out by a fellow named Bob Chapman. And they're on the Internet. And you can get them at Bob at INTFORECASTER.com. Bob at INTForecaster.com. Now, if you want to subscribe, which is what you want to do, you go to info, INFO at INTFORECASTER.com, and then you can subscribe. It costs you $160 a year. It's about a nickel a page. I worked it out. It's about 30 pages twice a week, and the newsletter is dynamite. It's the best one out there. It's number one. I rank it number one. Privateer, number 2. Then I put the Money Changer, number 3. And then Joel Skousen's newsletter. What do you call that thing now? The Joel Skousen newsletter. Oh, I had a couple of copies of it here. I think I gave it to you in the last program. Well, I can't see it here right now. Anyway, go to Joel Skousen. That's the guy that wrote the book, you know, on strategic relocation. And that's because those 4 come in here pretty regularly. I get others, and they're good, and I don't deny it. But this health section, if the only thing you get out of the International Forecaster is that health section, it's worth the $160 a year. Because you're going to get 100 of these articles on these various diseases, like your liver. Now that I've got this, I put it in my binder over here. I know what to do for my liver now. Got that? I do, you do, and that'll solve your problem. So a lifestyle change isn't very likely, but if you can do that, that's the thing to do. You can activate extra coverage and herbal rider, if you will, when using milk thistle herb to cleanse your liver. The silymarin, that's an antioxidant in this herb, helps to protect the liver from damage. Other nutrition milk thistle provides. This is not milk. Now, this is milk thistle. It's an herb. It provides your liver as protein, selenium, manganese, chromium, and zinc. And this will help your liver to regenerate. It'll replace your sick liver cells with new, healthy liver cells. Milk thistle will also help with your skin conditions. Look for milk thistle tincture, aged concentrate. And you can get that at apothecaryherbs.com, along with their Body Foundation food mix to add to your juice for more vitamins, minerals, protein, and amino acids. Organs cleansing packages, immune boosting formulas, Celtic sea salts are all available at apothecaryherbs.com. See how simple that is? All right.
Now the Law Hour and editorial review brings you important information about law, science, education, politics, religion, health, history, economics, news, and current events. For more information about the Law Hour and editorial review, please visit our webpage at georgegordonlaw.org. Again, that's georgegordonlaw.org.
Have you read the last prophecy? The book of Revelation. Who can understand it? We believe that God wrote His Word to us for our understanding and salvation, on which so many diverse Christians believe in the same fundamental principles. But not so the prophecy of Daniel and Revelation. Has God, by His Holy Spirit, given a sure interpretation to these mysterious passages through the centuries? Yes, He has. The only difference to the individual is on which side of each prophecy he stands in time, before or after, past or future. The last prophecy is as much a book of history, fulfilling prophecy, exposed in such a way as to leave you without a doubt. Because we are living near the end of this era, we should be able to understand the substantial amount of the revelation which has already come to pass. Get the book, The Last Prophecy, which is an abridgment of E.B. Elliott's Jorge Apocalypticae, the most comprehensive work ever done on the Revelation, condensed down to a mere 258 pages. You will come away with numerous, incontrovertible revelations into the book of Revelation, to easily dispel all of the futurist confusion which has become so popular over the last century. Visit the shopping page at FirstAmendmentRadio.com to get your copy. Get 20% off when you buy it at the FirstAmendmentRadio.com shop.
Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased, it has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity. Invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host, Melody Cedarstrom, right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free 1-800-375-4188. Hear it first on FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net.
American Family News, I'm Mr. Keith. The U.S. said Tuesday that deploying warships to Yemen to monitor nearby Iranian vessels has given America options for how it could react to Iran's behavior in the region. Colonel Steve Warren, a Pentagon spokesman, says reports that an Iranian convoy of ships is headed toward Yemen played a role in the U.S. deciding to build up its naval presence off Yemen's coast.
That is certainly one of the factors. That is not the reason that they are there. I want to be very clear about that.
The confirmation vote for Loretta Lynch as Attorney General is on the Senate horizon. Jerry Bodlander has more.
Ever since she was approved by the Senate Judiciary Committee in late February, Democrats have repeatedly complained how long it's taken for Loretta Lynch's nomination to come before the full Senate. Illinois Senator Richard Durbin said it's now more than 50 days and counting.
The last 7 nominees for Attorney General combined, set on the calendar, combined 24 days.
But the Senate's now heading toward approval of the human trafficking bill, and that would clear the way for Lynch to be confirmed as the first black female Attorney General.
The pro-life legal group believes Congress needs to move to make the Hyde Amendment, which bans use of federal tax dollars for abortion, a permanent law. Charlie Butts explains why.
For weeks, the Senate has been wrangling over language of the human trafficking bill and whether that language would provide federal funds for abortions for trafficking victims. A compromise has been reached, dumping expanded pro-life language, allowing the measure to advance. Staff Counsel Mary Harned of Americans United for Life tells AFN there is no reason for alarm for pro-lifers.
It requires a transfer of the health care funds authorized under the new bill from the fund that is already restricted by the Hyde Amendment. So the result is still no new taxpayer funding for abortion through the human trafficking fund bill.
But each time a law involving abortion comes up, there is the same political battle over tax money for abortion that sometimes stretches over weeks, as is the case of the human trafficking bill.
It has to be in there in order to prevent those funds from being siphoned off to use for abortion funding. And so that's just wasteful of lawmakers' time, and it just leads to more, political battles and more accusations of things like we're trying to do more than we're even trying to do.
Harned says there is a solution, and it's ever so simple. Just pass the Hyde Amendment as permanent law, and the question will be resolved. I'm Charlie Butts.
The penalty phase in the Boston Marathon bombers trial opened in dramatic fashion on Tuesday.
Prosecutors outlined their case for death in opening statements, calling Tsarnaev callous, uncaring, unfeeling, the kind of person who would place a bomb near a child. They said that he was calculated, that he planned this attack with his brother, that he deserves the death penalty.
That's correspondent Denise Lavoie. The head of the Drug Enforcement Administration is resigning. Correspondent Martin DeCaro reports a watchdog report